All right. Welcome to Facebook Live. My name is Stephannie Hoff. I'm here today with Josh Simpson. We're doing the Life Inspired. If this is your first time joining us, we just like to bring in guests who will share their story with us about how life was kind of going along and then God intervened, and just see how your life is since then. There is one little thing, though, I'd like to kind of take a step aside here real quick. We do want to send our condolences to the Bennett family. Mr. Bennett did pass away, Scott's father, so we do want to send our condolences there. There's also another little story that I'm hearing. There was a Cubs game yesterday.
Yeah, so we had a unique day yesterday. My family and I take time and celebrate our kids when they grade-wise, and our oldest boy just finished middle school. So a combination of an A day and a culmination of his middle school experience, we took a trip to Chicago and rode the train there, rode the train on back, rode the South Shore, and went for the very first time for all of us to Wrigley Field. And if you caught the Cubs game at all, it was a pretty phenomenal game. Bottom of the ninth, they're down to Triple A kid that gets called up, hits a homer to tie it, and so this is the photo from that specifically, right? We actually caught that home run ball, got that home run ball.
Nice.
And it was fun to watch that. The immediate next at bat, Anthony Rizzo hits a walk-off homer.
Awesome.
But so that's obviously myself. Josiah's right here, and my wife Erin, who was on last week, is right here. Hidden. Pretty awesome moment for us in our very first Wrigley Field game. It's fun to watch the phone blow up in the middle of all that going, hey.
Nice. So, of course.
Can't really top that from an experience ever at Wrigley, and my kid has no idea that that's not the norm. Yeah, great. What a bar we've set.
Awesome. All right, so tell us about life, how you're going along, and how life was before God intervened.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate the chance to share some of this. It's wild to look back and see how God has worked throughout details and experiences. And it's also hard to highlight or isolate one or two or a couple, because in all reality, the way my wife and I work, the way that God works, there's all sorts of stories he's authoring, right? And we've worked our life around responding to whatever he's up to. But I mean, give you some background. Grew up in a number of different states. Had a divorced family. My mom had a couple divorces, my dad as well. So I lived in northern Indiana and Illinois and Ohio and Georgia, and then landed back up in northern Indiana. So I want to talk about three different times where it was really clear that I was going one way and God changed that trajectory. The first one, okay. When Jesus and I met, I was 17. Okay. Jesus and I met when I was 17, which is interesting, by the way, raising my own kids, because I don't want it to be that late for them.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we had just moved from Savannah, Georgia, to northern Indiana, and a friend that a girl that I was interested in. By the way, I don't advocate missionary dating. Bad move. But anyway,
okay.
Total aside. Girl I was interested in said, come to church, and I was like, perfect, I have nothing else going on a Sunday morning. And literally it was in Plymouth Wesleyan Church in Plymouth, Indiana. And the second Sunday there, January of 1997, second Sunday there, I realized that I'm no longer going because this person invited me to. I was going because there was something that God had in store. I was always pretty driven as a young man, wanted to do excellently. In all reality, I kind of wanted to do the best for everybody else, and it felt like the world was on my shoulders. I was put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. Okay. And I responded at that age to a call to be a part of something bigger than me.
At 17.
Yeah, that resonated so deeply that, man, it's not just about me. There's more to this life. The opportunity to tap into the church that has existed for 2,000 years, and to be an influencer because of that, it was powerful. So yes, I'm in, and that it changed the way in which I viewed people. I always enjoyed building relationships, but seeing it through the lens of opportunity to influence friends and other adult leaders because of who Jesus is. So it kind of shifted. I was very me-focused and me-centered and carried the weight of everything. And that was the first moment in my life where like God really took and redirected into something that was much more open-handed and exciting and pressure releasing. I was still free to use the gifts God's given me, but without the weight of, hey, it all depends on you. That was a big deal for me.
Nice. You were able to actually take that burden off and trust Jesus with it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then I went to college at IU Bloomington. I originally went to IU Bloomington. My dad went there. And so I kind of felt like that was always a place I was going to go. Went there for 2 years, and honestly, I enjoyed it. Dad didn't have a relationship with Jesus, so it was always this interesting dynamic of how do I passionately pursue God in the midst of a parent that was looking at it with like skepticism and sometimes even antagonism back in those days. And our relationship was not great in those days. It was powerful how it changed over time. But so I go to IU and get involved in the campus ministry there and start growing, you know. I mean, I had my typical college, not typical. I had some college difficulties, right? My freshman, sophomore year where I was trying to figure out how do I follow Jesus in this new environment where I don't have a support system, didn't have my home church around. But I remember walking back. I was going to go into secondary education, which is ironic because, long story short, that's where I'm at now. Okay. So I'm walking back and on campus, and for the first time in my life, I heard a direct calling, like the voice of God in my life, and it was all in my head. It wasn't like skies parting and audible, but it was clear enough that I've retained this phrase to this day, and I know the moment that I heard it. God said, I want you to be more overt about Jesus. So I was left to, okay. Because I had planned on going into the education system, and like I'm a engaging person and I like people, and I was just going to have fun and care for people. And that redirected things significantly for me, being overt about Jesus, like that I wasn't just going to coast on my own personality gifts, you know. And at that moment in time, I said, okay, then I'm going to go into vocational ministry. I'm going to do that as a youth pastor and do that full time. And
so instead of just secondary, so are you doing both now, or are you're completely changing? Like God intervened and you completely switched?
Yeah, it's a change.
Okay.
I had to leave IU because IU doesn't have a ministry program.
Okay.
And I had zero frame of reference about any schools that did. I had no awareness of Christian colleges. I went with a blank slate and literally prayed open-handedly, God, I don't know any of this. Guide me in what should be next.
Okay. And
through a pretty amazing set of circumstances, God answered that, and I went to Johnson Bible College, which is now Johnson University in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Got to play baseball and basketball at this really small Christian school, which is cool because I'm not a D1 athlete, so I was not going to play at IU. And got a ministry degree. I have a degree in youth ministry and preaching, and loved it. And what a cool experience. I had the public, huge state school experience that I grew as a man and loved. And I had this private Christian school experience that was phenomenal. But all because, I want you to be more overt about Jesus. I went into youth ministry and jumped in with both feet. So
awesome. That
was a powerful deal. We spent 10 years in full-time vocational ministry, my wife and I.
Okay.
And so I want to speak on behalf of Erin. Spoke last week and just did an amazing job walking through her own journey and our journey as a couple, which is really powerful for me to watch. It's humbling to listen to my wife do such an amazing job of loving Jesus and loving our family. It was pretty cool. So check it out.
We're very blessed to have her.
So yeah, those are two major ones, but one of the more recent ones I'd like to unpack today from a ... perspective. We spent a decade in student ministry, 3 in Kentucky, 1 in Tennessee, 2.5 in Kentucky, and then 7 up here at a local church in the area, and got involved in a number of different things. We'll talk at some point in time about SOS, Summer of Service is a ministry that exists, an organization that exists in the area that we were a part of like from the get-go, which is
Okay.
we're really
Summer
passionate
of
about.
service? Okay. All right.
Yep. With adolescents, with middle schoolers and high schoolers.
Okay.
So we were part of the beginning of that, and we were here for 7 years, more or less. And about 6 years in, I started to realize that every time I would visit a school in my youth pastor role, every time I'd walk into a school, doors I was active in Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I'd visit lunches and this kind of stuff, my heart would start beating faster. There was a physical response when I walked in. And it wasn't like it wasn't nerves. You know, it wasn't anxious. It wasn't like bad memories from high school hitting me all over because I really enjoyed my experience. But I found myself getting really excited every time I walked in. I'd hang out and spend time and care for students and teachers that are around. I built relationships, and after about 6 months of ignoring like that, I finally looked at that emotional response and said, okay, we've got to figure out what God's up to in that. There's some reason why that's taking place. So I remember coming home, and at this point in time, we were settled. We were at a comfortable spot. We had 3 kids at the time. We have 4 boys now. We had 3 boys at the time. Espen was very little, less than a year old. I come in the door. I said, we need to start praying about what it might look like to go back or to go into education, you know, to change. And I can remember the dissonance of like, yay, God's doing something powerful, and this is really going to rock the boat of how our family's working.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we were well established in our career, or I was well established in my career. We were established at our church, and that one decision led to probably the most thrilling year from a discipleship end that I've had, because opening up our heart to what God was up to there led to so much anxiety. Maybe I thought about saying fear. We weren't scared, but there was anxiousness, uncertainty. But at each step, the moment in time where we needed a clear answer, it would come.
Yeah.
Now, if we didn't need it, well, it wouldn't come. And then right at the time when we got a little bit worked up, then boom, God would respond. It was remarkable. So I'll give you the cliff notes of some of this, because it was it led to the birth of our kid, our youngest boy, is I don't know, is a testimony to this. We named him after the journey. But so the first step was, hey, if we're thinking about stepping away from ministry, we got to tell our pastor. And there was some apprehension there, because it's possible that, hey, we'd like to think about stepping away. And it's very possible that he could have been like, see ya.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
And we had no control over the response. And my wife and I met with he and his wife, and it was a powerful, encouraging meeting at McAdoo's. We met at McAdoo's and talked, and they said, we're in your corner. Take the year and figure this out. Still do your job to the best of your ability. And we want to champion sports because it's clear that God's doing something. I was like, oh,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So healthy for me as a man to see that modeled, right? That even though it will cause discomfort for the organization as a church, if God's doing something, we want to be a part of it.
That's awesome.
It's really affected the way I view a lot of life. If it's clear that God's doing something, we're going to lean into it.
Yeah.
Because it's worth it. So, long story short, transitioned to teaching classes at Bethel. Had to take a couple undergrad classes as a 27-year-old man or a 29-year-old man.
That's humbling.
Undergrad, it was really interesting. Social studies classes specifically were fun. But I was like, man, what am I in the middle of doing youth ministry still? Right? Planning and speaking and doing events, and then taking undergrad classes with a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. Whatevs. And then took a transition to teaching set of courses over the course of 14 months. Came out with a certificate. But the interesting thing, we still have like bills to pay and life to do. And you're expected to do a student teaching semester. student teaching typically is not paid. And we were really concerned, like, would I be doing student teaching and then going to work at like Kohl's from 4 to 10, so just to make ends meet?
Sure.
And so we were concerned about what that would play out like. We struggle for a while. We go through an entire summer while I'm still taking classes at Bethel, but we've officially said goodbye from the church, and they were willing to pay for us through the summer. And the closer that the end of August looms, and again, God's got this whole thing worked. He's got it under control, but we are now leery. That whole time we're like, what's going to happen? We need a position in order to like make do and figure out how we're going to pay for life and house and our 3 boys. The moment the specific day where we both wake up, my wife and I both wake up with a significant apprehension, like negative and concern. That day, it was the first in the entire journey. We get 2 emails from 2 different school systems saying we'd like interviews. That
nice.
day.
Wow.
So I interview I'm at Grissom Middle School. I work within Penn Harris Madison.
Yeah.
And get a interview there and a job offer within 2 days after that.
Oh, wow.
But it was the moment where we were like, God, we're done. This is too much. We're stressed. So I was able to do my classes at Bethel and do emergency teaching, emergency certification from a full-time. I did my student teaching and got paid for it. Wow. Which is not common.
No.
Not common.
God's just been showing off.
Yeah. In the middle of it, in the middle of all this, we get pregnant with our 4th.
Aww.
Like, and this is before we had this answer.
Yeah.
Before we had this answer. What is happening? What? And our 4th, his name is Ananias. Ananias is Hebrew meaning for the Lord answers.
Oh,
and every time we get a chance, because Ananias is a unique name. We have heard it butchered lots of different ways. But it's Anaias. And every time we get to share that story with people, it's a reminder of that year journey of, I kind of always view it like a ladder, where when we were ready for that next rung, only when our arm was fully reached did it appear what the next act was that God was doing. And then we would figuratively move up, and nothing else was apparent. And we would keep going along the path that God had set up for us. And right when we needed the next thing to take place, that's when it would happen. And I mean, to the day, to the moment. So I said it was exhilarating and scary at the same time.
Sure.
It was really stretching. But so now I get a chance. I've been there for 7 years. I've been within the school system in public ed, and I get to be a missionary in the public ed field, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I get to care when I was teaching in a full-time role this year. I'll be a dean of students at the school I'm at.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm excited. I get to do a lot of student discipline, but the great thing about that is I get a chance to model restorative justice practices and care and redirection. Really, it's kingdom-based strategies to help students succeed.
Yeah.
So it's remarkable.
Great.
But I get an opportunity to care from a Jesus perspective, and I have to watch boundaries and what I say, and like to do it in a way that maintains integrity, but that still mimics like who I am and what I'm about. It's been so powerful and a lot of fun. I really enjoy what I do. We'll have plenty of people who comment on this because they're parents or students of mine, which is going to be a lot of fun to see. Yeah, I enjoy what I do.
That's great. That's great. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. If you would like to have coffee or tea with Josh and just talk to him more about his story or talk about SOS, I'm sure he'd love to share that information with you as well. Feel free to reach out to him. We'll get you his contact information. And again, if any of you know someone who might want to share their story with us that could help impact others and share the love of Jesus, we'd certainly love to speak with them. So feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.